suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, in the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Sturbridge Planning Board will be conducted via remote participation.
This conference will now be recorded.
Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation can be found on the town's website at www.sturbridge.gov/town-administrator/how-access-virtual-meeting. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen in or watch the meeting, either online via the town's on-demand video broadcast, on cable television on channel 191, or dial into the meeting at 774-304-1455, enter 1428# for the meeting number, and 12345 for the access code. This phone number is only active for the public during the public meeting. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best effort, we will post audio and/or video recordings, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings on the town's website as soon as possible after the meeting. The agenda this evening will be to approve the minutes of the April 14th meeting. At 6:35, we'll have a site plan review public hearing for Pilot Travel Center, 400 Haynes Street. They're requesting a site plan approval as required by Chapter 25 of the Sturbridge zoning bylaws to raise and rebuild the existing travel center facility, which will include a single build, 2 new fuel canopies, updated signage, additional fueling positions, and flow direction reversal to eliminate congestion. At 7:05 p.m., we have a public hearing to consider the amendments to the town's zoning map as petitioned by Porchlight Investments for property located at 7 Cedar Street. The petitioners have requested that a portion of 7 Cedar Street, as shown on the plan submitted, be changed from suburban residential to commercial tourist district. The proposed change will affect 0.917 acres plus or minus of land on the westerly side of Cedar Street on the northerly side of 420 Main Street. Following that, we'll have the town planner update, then old and new business, and then adjournment. So, has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes of April 14th? Any questions, Shane?
No questions.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Sure.
On February 25th approval of minutes, I believe I need to be abstained on that one. I didn't attend or have any input at the 25th meeting.
Okay. Do you have it?
Yes, we have that.
Okay, great. Okay, then can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Sue?
Second.
Sue, thank you. A second?
This is Jeff. I'll second.
Okay, great. Okay, and we'll have a roll call vote to approve. Sue?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Russ?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. Sue, would you like to read the public notice for the pilot site plan review?
Yes.
Published there? Great.
Right. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 11. The Planning Board will hold a public hearing at the Town Hall in Veterans Memorial Hall located at 308 Main Street on Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 at 6:35 on the application of Pilot Travels LLC, 5508 Lotus Road, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37909. The applicant requests a site plan approval as required by Chapter 25 of the Sturbridge zoning bylaws to raise and rebuild the existing travel center facility, which will include a single building, 2 fuel canopies, updated signage, additional fueling positions, and flow direction reversals to eliminate congestion. The property location is 400 Haynes Street, Sturbridge, Mass. The Planning Board may elect, consistent with Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, to hold the public hearing virtually, in which case details respecting the same will be made public by the Planning Board in advance of the hearing and will be posted here, which is at sturbridge.gov/town-administrator/pages/how access virtual meeting. For those unable to participate verbally, written comments will be accepted in advance of the public hearing. A copy of the site plan and application can be inspected on the Sturbridge Town website at www.sturbridge.gov/planning.board, pages, recent filings, or arrangements can be made to view the application packet by contacting the Sturbridge Planning Department at 508-347-2508 or by email at jlacy, I'll spell it, JLACY, at sturbridge.gov. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on this petition should appear at the time and place designated.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay. So would the proponent like to begin the presentation?
Yes, if I could get control of the screen, please.
Yep, we'll take care of that, Brad. Janae, can you share that with him?
All right, Brad, you should be the presenter now.
All right. First off, I want to say thank you to all of you guys for doing this remotely. It certainly helps us to hopefully stay on track to get our facility rebuilt. I'm sure you're all very familiar with the Pilot Travel Center. We've been there for, I think since about 2005, 2006 time frame. It's a facility that we've talked about tearing down or rebuilding over the years, but we've never gotten all the way through for one reason or another, typically just deciding not to move forward. We are now in a position that we really want to tear this facility down, rebuild it so that we can better serve our guests and also better serve the Sturbridge community with a facility that looks better, that functions better, and provides additional services. So I'm going to run through quickly the proposed site plan, landscaping, signs, all the things that need to be talked about. Please feel free at any time to interrupt with questions. I've got Alan Roscoe, who's the civil engineer of record on the meeting with us, as well as Jason Adams, who is the with McMahon, the traffic engineer, so that if there are more technical things from a stormwater or traffic standpoint, they can jump in and help answer those questions. So get this out of the way so I can see there. The purpose of this project, obviously, is to demolish the existing car and truck fueling areas. As you're aware, there are separate areas, separate buildings for cars and trucks. We're going to demolish those, as well as the abandoned restaurant event center building in the center of the site. and combine all of the uses into a single travel center facility with dedicated car and truck fueling areas, much more similar to what you would see at one of our normal facilities. One of the huge benefits for everybody is increased truck throughput due to additional fueling lanes and a more efficient circulation pattern. And I want to make it very clear, we are not expecting to get more trucks. We have all of the business that we expect to get, but right now we have 6 fueling positions for trucks. And the way that they enter the site and get to the fueling lane doesn't provide a lot of stacking on our property, and we've got some exhibits to discuss this. But by changing the flow of trucks into and through the site, and by going to 9 truck fueling positions, we will be able to more rapidly serve the guests that are coming to our facility. On top of that, all of the fuel system, other than the above ground tanks, which are state of the art already, all of the piping, all the dispensers will be upgraded. So we should get some increased throughput just by better equipment that's going to fuel the trucks more quickly. And not to mention the building is going to be new, fresh looking. We're going to get rid of that eyesore that is the abandoned building. The convenience store area and gas fueling area will get much more efficient. And we will have additional gas fueling positions. Usually the car traffic is not the issue, it's the truck traffic. So that will get better. And the facility will stay open during construction as much as possible. There will be a time where we will have to close to swap from the old buildings to the new, but we will minimize that downtime as much as possible to obviously minimize impact to our customers, but also minimize impact to the community. On the screen now, you will see the overall site plan for the existing travel center. So here's the gas canopy and little convenience store. If you guys can see my cursor. Then you've got the big abandoned building, and then the truck fueling area. You've got parking back here that's relatively undisturbed. The hotel, which is a tenant of ours, and that land lease will continue. And then there's the water treatment, the well and treatment system, and then the wastewater treatment system up here. So that's the overview of the existing site. Again, just blow-ups of the northern end of the site. Not much to really talk about there at this point. And then the southern portion, or I guess really the central portion of the site where the truck fueling is. On the screen now, you will see an overlay of the proposed top of the existing. Everything in blue is the existing condition. Everything in red is the proposed. So you can see that the new building goes in place of the abandoned building in the center. The gas fueling area will be in front of the new building, and the old gas fueling area will become parking. We have our propane tanks and our new gas tanks, underground gas tanks there, but that's all parking. Then the truck fueling area moves from where my cursor is now to closer to the new building. The key that we'll get in a minute is the reversed flow for the trucks. I think it's also important to point out, if you see where my cursor is, there's kind of an outline here, a dashed line. That is all currently a paved area. We are removing all of that asphalt. We're going to put a curved area to keep trucks from getting closer to the well, to get into our water treatment area. And I think that's going to be a very big benefit, one, because of the decreased pervious. That'll help from a conservation and an environmental standpoint, but also it's going to help an area that's probably a little bit abused by guys going through the boulders and pushing them out of the way. That they won't be able to do that with the curb line. This is the overall new site plan, just without the old one. One thing I do want to point out, you've seen all the rest of this, just in that overlay. Where my cursor is, right under my cursor, is the wastewater treatment plant. We upgraded that 5 or 6 years ago. It is state of the art. Our discharge is very close to drinking water standards. It's much better than what we had before. I'm actually trying to go back here to the existing conditions. All of these lines you see kind of going at a diagonal, that is the current wastewater leach field that is under our parking area. We have no problems whatsoever with that system. It works really well. But as a result of the construction and moving things around, we're going to try to get that out of the way of all the construction. So what you'll see up in the southwest corner of the site in the parking area, you'll see some heavier line. That is a new leach field. We've already done the test pits. The soil perks spectacularly. We are working with the DEP right now to go through the permitting to relocate all of our leach field area up to this area, so it's more compact. It's out of the way of most of the traffic. It'll still be under asphalt, but that will not cause any problems. So that is one thing that is not detailed in all of the site plans that you've looked at. I've got an environmental consultant working on that, and we'll certainly provide information to the town about that. Again, kind of a blow up of the northern end of the site. So you see the new building, the new truck fueling area with scale, the new gas fueling area, and then where the gas fueling area and building are now, because of parking, we've got underground gas tanks, new state-of-the-art double wall tanks, and then this is just our propane tank to serve for heating and cooking. You'll also see right now we're proposing a third entrance point. This is the existing car driveway, this existing truck driveway. We are working with DOT right now to try to get a third access point approved to better provide access for cars coming into the gas area so they don't have to make a bunch of turns, but also to be able to get back to the hotel a little more easily. So that would be more of a direct shot. We are working with the DOT. If for some reason they denied us the third access, we would push to get the new access and close the old. We're working with them and hope to hear back from them very short. But the truck access would remain unchanged other than just being repaved and cleaned up. Kind of the southern middle part of the site, you'll see that where the gas or the diesel fueling area is now is cleaned up, and it's a parking and circulation area. And again, this is the well house and water treatment facility. Currently, pavement comes through here. That will all come out. It will become a grass area, and we will provide a stone driveway to that area. So when trucks come to deliver salt and other things to service the water treatment facility, they still have a good ground. Okay, on the screen now is the existing truck flow to get to the fueling island. So they come off of Route 15, they're coming into the site, and then they spread out and go to the fueling lane. It's very small, hard to see, but this truck right here that's rear ends out and getting close into the Haines Street is number 19. So right now we have effectively stacking for 19 trucks, including the 6 that are fueling, before we start impacting the roadway. I think everybody's aware that from time to time that happens. The rest of this has to stay open from a circulation standpoint, or everything would be gummed up. Now you see with the reverse, with the new layout, instead of trucks coming straight in off the highway, they are now circulating through the site, and there's more room behind the canopy, plus more fueling positions. The last truck whose tail is not out in Haines Street is number 38. So we are doubling the stacking on site for trucks, which is a huge benefit. And again, with better equipment, the throughput is going to be increased even that much more. Once the trucks fuel, they're supposed to pull forward at the edge of this concrete is what we call the pull forward line, so that the next guy can go ahead and start fueling while the one who just finished runs inside to pay or grab his snacks, use the restroom, whatever he needs to do. So a much more efficient flow, and with the increased capacity, a lot more ability to get trucks in and out of the facility in a much quicker manner. This should eliminate congestion out on Haines Street due to our guests. This is the grading plan. Rather than go into all the details, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Here's the Ovide Pond that is obviously got buffers and it has to be protected. As part of the stormwater improvements to approve the treatment and the retention and the recharge, and I'll let Alan jump in if need be if you guys have technical questions. We're putting a pond where my cursor is, another one, and then a third one. So you've got 3 recharge retention ponds or detention ponds before our stormwater goes to the stream or to the Ovide Pond where it currently goes. And that's going to provide us a much greater ability to treat stormwater to ensure that there are no harmful releases. On top of that, we're adding additional oil water separators. We have a dedicated oil water separator to catch anything that falls off of a truck under the fueling canopy. And then there are several others throughout the property to catch anything that's just in the normal stormwater flow outside of the fueling canopy. So a drastic improvement there. I believe we're going to be putting some of the filtration devices in the catch basins that don't already have them to really upgrade our ability to treat stormwater effectively and meet all of the regulations and ordinances. Another key, I think, is currently there's parking on both sides of this driveway. That's being removed. So it takes away an opportunity for something to be dumped or spilled if somebody's parked there, whereas now it's just a drive area and there's no room for people to park. Again, this is the grading plan. There's no ponds back here, but you can see the area that's currently asphalt will just be a grass, but able to sheet flow. The next 2 sheets are the wetlands buffers, in case you guys are interested in looking at and seeing where all the different buffer levels are. There's several dotted lines here. I don't know how easy it is for you to see. One of the keys to notice is, let's find it, this circle right here is a 295-foot protective radius around our wellhead. And the next page might help. You can see a little bit more of it and the actual well. We can't do any stormwater recharge in that area. So originally we had hoped to put ponds closer to this area where we're pulling out asphalt. We're not going to be able to do that because of state regulations. But again, it will be grass instead of asphalt. And then a little bit of our leach field gets in the 200-foot buffer, but it's already an asphalt area, so there's really not any change as far as that goes. All told, we are reducing the impervious coverage by slightly over 1 acre. The next sheet is landscaping. We're going to be adding along Haines Street, along our frontage, quite a bit of additional and improved landscaping. To make the look and feel of the frontage a lot better. And you should be able to see in the plans there's some pin oaks, some service berries, some popcorn beans as far as trees go, and then several juniper, switchgrass, smaller plantings filling in the rest of the space. As you go further back into the site, it's primarily grass, just from a serviceability standpoint, and also being able to protect the plantings from the trucks. Tree disposition plan, just showing which trees are staying and which ones are going. Okay, why don't I stop there since I've kind of gone through all of the site stuff before I get to the building. If anybody has any questions from a site standpoint, certainly happy to answer those.
Okay, Gene, do you have anything you'd like to say or add? Do we have, or have John take a time to discuss what this review has been?
Sure, I can just give you a little bit of a brief overview and then ask John to chime in. Just by way of background, town staff has been working with Pilot Travel since, I believe, the end of last summer, beginning of early fall, to get the plan to the stage that it's at now. They've come a long way. We still have some ways to go with it, but I think we're making really good progress. The plan has been approved by the Design Review Committee already as far as the architecture and the signage. We do have a few signs that I'm working with Brad on, and we'll be having him come back for a special permit probably sometime this summer. We requested quotes for peer review, and Park Corporation was chosen to do the traffic peer review and also the stormwater management review on behalf of the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission as well. The preliminary reports have been provided by Mr. Shevlin. You received a report, I believe, last week on the traffic, and just late this afternoon, we just sent you a stormwater management report. I think it would be helpful now if John could go through his findings and update the board as to where we are with that review process. But I think, just in summary, I think, you know, we've come a tremendous way. We have a little ways longer to go, and I think, you know, in the end, we'll have a much improved travel center. So with that, I'd ask John to provide his findings.
Thank you, Gene. Can everybody hear me? All right? Am I coming through okay?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thanks for that description. That helped a lot. I think as far as the traffic goes, I think it addressed some of my concerns. I think my biggest concern as far as traffic was the fact that, like it was reported in several areas, that queuing occurred on the Haines Street. So I don't know what level of detail that queuing occurred. And I think, you know, just seeing this plan as one plan showing how it steps up and what the queue length is and how it's operating. Obviously, they're increasing that, doubling the stacking lane. So I would think that's more than satisfactory to not impact traffic.
John, excuse me, we're having a hard time hearing you now.
You are? Okay. What about now?
Can you speak a little louder? No, we can't hear you.
Oh, geez. Is there any phone number I can call in, Gene? Can't hear
Yes,
that?
John, there is a phone number you can call into.
What is that number?
Tell him to move away from the computer.
Move away from the computer just a hair, John. That might help. Try
And then
that.
speak.
And now try.
Better there? Here? Is this better?
Yeah, try, count to 5.
Can you count to 4?
My what?
Count to 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's better.
Is better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So on the traffic side, you know, the queuing and just some of the numbers that came out.
Getting too close
No.
to the computer.
John, we're going to have to stop and have you call in, maybe? John?
No, tell him
Alright.
the closer he gets to the computer, the less we hear it.
Oh. They're saying the closer you get to the computer, the less we can hear you.
Better here?
Yep, better there.
All right. I'll keep my distance. So, but I think the description for the site, the layout, the new don't work well. No?
Nope, sorry, John. I'm going to give you a number.
All right.
Can I just read it, Tom? Ready when you are.
Yep, go ahead.
1-224 501 3412.
Please enter your access code followed by
934 934
Yep.
180
One more time?
934 180
Enter.
$853.
The access code you entered is invalid. You entered 1.
John, it's 934 180 853.
Okay.
Really spoke up for a positive
That didn't work?
It's supposed to work.
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, through?
There you go.
Tell him to turn his,
But can you turn your could you turn your microphone off on your computer now so that we don't get the two?
and the volume.
How's that?
That's good, thank you.
All right.
Keep going.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm not sure why that's happening. Never had that before. But yeah, so we went ahead. We finished our traffic review. We submitted the memo back on May 28th. Our biggest concerns were in regards to queuing of traffic and the site circulation. And I think the description that was just given helps a lot in regards to what's been done. I know just going out there and looking at it in the field, you know, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of traffic going in and out of the site. So I don't see there being a capacity issue getting in and out of the site. And then as far as safety goes, they provided information in regards to crashes, and there's, I think there was one over the time period that they gave, so there seems to be no safety issues out there. The site distance and access seems to work well. You know, I had some general questions in regards to just some of the assumptions that they had for the truck volumes. They did have counts for the number of truck fills per day, and I know they put a safety factor on there to come up with the number of overall trucks per day. So I just had a question in regards to, you know, where that safety factor came into play or where that number comes from, if it's generated for somewhere, if it's just an assumption. But like I said, I think based on the volumes that you see now and compared to what it may be and what they have for the site layout, I think it's going to work fine. You know, I had some comments. So overall, I think the traffic study, it touched on the major components. The few minor things that I had, I think, have been addressed just based on this discussion. I did have some comments in regards to the overall site plan that I thought was traffic related. Just had questions in regards to information on where deliveries are going to be made, where loading areas are going to be, how that's going to occur. Parking for this type of development, particularly for the retail center, typically there's provisions given for the number of parking spaces required and how many are provided. I didn't know if there's any information that they had available for similar sites as far as parking demand, just to ensure that there's enough parking demand. It appears to be, but there's just no information shown in regards to what those requirements are. Then I just had some comments in regards to just, you know, recommendations as far as traffic control and safety within the parking area. And these came up both on the traffic review and also on the overall site review that I did for the plan sets and the stormwater. So I think the traffic, like I said, I think for the most part, I think everything can be responded to relatively easy. I think the traffic will certainly work better than what's going on out there now. So I think a lot of those will be able to be addressed. More recently, today, we submitted the review for the site plan, the stormwater. I had numbers of questions. I think a lot of these I did have a discussion with Alan in regards to just some of the questions, comments that we had. I know, like I said, these came in late. I think there needs to be some time for him to go ahead and review. I think a lot of them can be answered, but there may be some that I think he, and I don't want to talk for Alan, but I think he's going to provide more information for. So I don't know how much detail you want to go through these. Like I said, there's a lot of specifics and details that are on the plans that we made comments on. The overall stormwater drainage, I had some comments in regards to, information in regards to soil information at the basins. Do we have any information as far as what the soil types are there? And I know that's something that he said if need be, he would certainly go out there and handle those. There's comments in regards to operation and maintenance plan. I know he said he's preparing that, so we would anticipate getting that as well. So I try to go through all the documents as far as the plans, the stormwater report, the project narrative, notice of intent, and try to address the stormwater standards. And I think based on the design right now, some of the standards I think need to be, more information needs to be provided in order to meet those. So I left it at that in regards to with Alan, and I think we're going to continue to have further discussions. I think a lot of these should be able to be knocked off pretty easily. So it's a quick summary. I don't know what level of detail you want us to go into with the comments, or if Alan wants to add anything or anything else. So.
Okay. Well, John, I think we're pretty sure we're going to be continuing this public hearing anyway. So I think the only thing would be if you have any major issues you're concerned about.
No, I mean, a lot of these were recommendations or comments to see if they could be done. I talked about in regards to just water quality back in the back parking lot. There could be a vegetative strip in there that could be put by the parking lot that doesn't have any drainage catchment, and there's sheet flow over there. I know, talked to Alan, he said it's going to be tough in that area just for a few different reasons, grading and such like that. A lot of them, like I said, are just meeting the stormwater manuals and trying to get better design for water quality. I think the water volume looks like it's being met, but it's the water quality, just some things that could be done in order to make those better. 4 bays in the basins to help with some of the, the sediment, catching some of the sediments, and outfalls, having riprap, so to minimize erosion, so on and so on. So, like I said, I know Alan was working, hard in regards to pulling these together. And I think there's just some things that weren't carried over from one submission to the next, or one set of plans that may have been on the grading plan, but then come across on the site plan and vice versa. So I think there's just some things that just need to be cleaned up. So.
Okay, great. John, I appreciate it. I'm going to be asking the members of the board now to ask their questions. But before I do that, Brad, do you have anything else you'd like to add at that point before I request questions from the board members?
Generally, I've read through all of the comments on both traffic and the overall site and storm, and I agree with John. There's some details we need to fill in, maybe some tweaks here and there, but overall, Alan and I talked after the comments came in today. I think everything is very doable as far as the additional information that needs to be provided. And I'm sure Alan and John will have some back and forth on certain ideas, and I'll weigh in as necessary to get there. But I feel like from a site standpoint, we will get there. Hopefully we will get there before next Tuesday when I have another Conservation Commission meeting. Overall, I think we're in good shape on the site. And so that's all my comments on the site. I'm happy to answer any other questions. If you want me to go through the building and signage, I will. You let me know how you want me to go.
Great. Okay. Russ, do you have any questions? I'm sorry, Gene?
Good.
All right, go ahead, Russ.
We good? Okay.
Yeah.
I have a few things. First off, I'd like to thank John and his company, PEA. I think they've done an excellent review of this. It's certainly very thorough, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I noticed in reviewing it that you're going to rapid fuel dispensers.
Yes.
on the fuel pumps, is there any increased risk of fuel spillage with those? In your history with other pilot service areas?
No, there's not. They're all state-of-the-art equipment. It's simply a matter of, as things get older, they don't work as well, they don't pump as fast. So that we will have a better flow from the new dispensers. Actually, from the standpoint of spills and environmental concerns, currently you've got this facility, I believe, was built in the mid-'80s. So you've got 40-year-old or nearly 40-year-old piping in the ground. None of the dispensers have sumps beneath them to catch if there's a leak or what have you. That was the guidelines back when this was built. When we rework this site, all of the underground tanks will be replaced. All of the underground piping will be replaced. All the dispensers will now have sumps under them. Everything will be double walled. Everything will have sensors that let us know. We use what's called a non-discriminating sensor. So if there's fluid in the sump, it doesn't try to figure out if it's water or oil or anything else. It just says, oh, and sends off an alarm that the store hears. We monitor remotely here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and have the ability to deal with that almost instantaneously. So you're going from a very antiquated system to a state-of-the-art system. So from an environmental standpoint, it will be much better than it is now.
Thank you. On the page you have up now, or the schematic for the flow, if a truck comes in, or numerous trucks come in to fuel up, and then they want to park at your facility, if all that queuing is done out to 84, how are they going to get around that to park their truck? What's the traffic flow after they fuel up when they want to park?
Okay, good question. When they park, they're going to have to get in the line and go through. But remember, this is to show how many trucks we can stack. There should not be that many trucks stacked at any one point in time. I don't remember off the top of my head the number of trucks that enter and exit the site during the peak hour. For trucks, our peak is actually in the middle of the day, whereas for cars, there's a morning and evening peak. For trucks, it's actually in the middle of the day. That's just based on the federal regulations for when they can and can't drive. But we're probably looking at somewhere, worst case, of 30 trucks per hour during that one peak hour. It's probably less than that. Again, don't have that number off the top of my head. That's a truck every 2 minutes. So in your worst case hour, you're still going to have the ability to circulate since there's so much stacking back here. And in theory, we could go ahead and show more stacking across. We didn't go crazy with that, but you could easily put another row of stacking. So this should not happen. So the guys who want to go park would be able to easily get in line, go through, and go back to the parking areas.
Okay, while we're on that same page, what is that? It looks like a dental pick, the island. So where it's boxed out, is that parking or?
This?
Yeah.
That is some parking, yes, sir. The majority of the parking will be at the far end of the south end of the site, but there is that's probably 8, 9, 10 spaces right there.
Okay. So the median to the north, where that parking is, it seems like if the truck wants to get in that further west pump, that's going to be quite a turn for them. See where I'm talking? With that last truck, or that last truck to the west.
Into this lane?
Exactly. Where this median is on the right there to get into that last pump. It seems like that's going to be quite a tight turn to get in there with that median the way you have it.
They definitely can make the turn. You're right. If everything is stacked the way that we're showing it on this exhibit, it would be a little tougher, but they would still be able to make that turn.
Okay.
the turning analysis that's on these drawings is very conservative. If you ever go to the site and watch these guys spin around and park on a dime, they're better than the paper.
Okay. And during your shutdown, that will be shutting down the fire pump?
Yes, sir. We're actually going to completely replace the fire pump. It's old. It's not in the best repair. Currently, it only serves the hotel. So,
well, that leads to my question: will the hotel have to close while that fire pump is shut down?
No, sir. We will provide most likely a water truck to service that hotel. We're working through those details now, but it will not be without fire water.
Okay. And
we'll work with Lieutenant Marinelli on that.
Okay, thank you. In regards to the shutdown of the whole facility, and I'm not sure if I'm fairly sure that you have to get permission from DOT, but I would strongly suggest, that you get message boards up on 84 going in both directions before that exit 1, so you don't have the trucks getting off and clogging up the road, while you're closed. Just the message board saying that the pilot truck stop is closed, no fuel, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, and we can certainly reach out to DOT for that. One other thing we can do, because so many of our customers are contract based, it's not just a truck driver driving down the road saying, "Oh, I'll go get fuel at Pilot." Their dispatchers are telling them where to go get fuel. Because of all those contracts and the contacts we have with the trucking companies, we can send out a notice that says, and I'm making up dates, from August 1st to August 17th, the travel center is going to be completely shut down. Don't visit that site, and that will tremendously help. And we will work with DOT and with you guys from a signage standpoint to minimize any disruption caused by our being shut down.
And the last thing I got is, in the future, say once you're all done and you're up and running, and we still have issues with parking on, that there isn't, for whatever reason, snowstorm or whatever, there's still issues with trucks parking on Route 15, because I'm sure you're well aware that it's a constant battle up there, and at times you cannot get through there. And that puts the residents that are south of there in jeopardy. Excuse me. We've had issues with school buses not being late getting to school because the school buses can't get through, et cetera, et cetera. Would you be amenable to, in the future, if there's still issues up there, something along the line of flashing no parking signs along Route 15? I'm not saying I'm hoping that, all your figures with queuing and everything are going to work and alleviate everything. We won't have to go this step. But in case it doesn't work, are you guys amenable to going a little bit further and to try and alleviate the issue that's on that road?
I think over the years, if I'm not mistaken, we've put in no parking signs. We've done various things to try to help with that situation. So certainly we will continue to be a good citizen and try to help with that. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to police that, meaning I can't go out off of our property and tell somebody not to park there. And technically, if they're out of hours to drive, nobody can really tell them to move. So it's a very difficult situation, but we will absolutely work with you guys to install signage, to do things to let people know that, hey, there's no room, you need to go down the road a little further.
Thank you. That's all I have, Charlie.
Okay, I'd just like a little follow-up on that, though. And I guess the question is really for Brad and for John Shevlin. From what Russ just said about the severity and the frequency of the clogging that occurs there, are you both aware of that in the review you've had and in this plan, and John, in the review you've had of this?
Yeah, as far as the extent that Mr. Chamberlain was talking about, I wasn't aware of it. I had some indications that there's queuing back there, but I didn't realize that trucks park along there.
From what I understand, and I know before we had a member of the planning board that lived down in the area that Russell's talking about, and she would, report often and tell Gene about it and call the police, that it happens, quite frequently and is quite severe. Gene, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yes, and actually, I think I did bring that up on the site visit, that it's not just kind of the queuing, it's, sometimes chaos during snowstorms, quite frankly, with everybody pulling off the road. And it's understandable, the trucks need to get off the road, they need to pull over, but it's created a lot of issues for our police and our residents up there. So, I think that going forward, we need to come up with some kind of plan as to, and I realize, Brad, you're saying you can't police it, but we need to somehow better monitor it and get some early warning signals out there to the truckers that need you to use your facility so this isn't happening.
And I can verify it's a mess out there at night.
And our town administrator just said he can verify it's a mess out there at night. He happens to live down that road, so it's it's been an ongoing issue. So I think this is going to be a big improvement. I think that we may still need to do some monitoring going forward.
And I think
But I'm sorry.
I do understand that, and I think when the New England truck stop shut down, that certainly hurt matters, right? Because there's less place for them to park, and frankly, in your part of the world, there are a lack of facilities like ours, like the interstate rest areas, so to speak, where trucks can pull off. And unfortunately, when they're out of hours, they park wherever they can. Whether they should or not is a different story, but they park wherever they can. So, again, we're certainly amenable to working with you guys. I know in some states, especially going through the Rocky Mountains, the Departments of Transportation have message boards, and they'll flash and tell drivers, hey, there's parking at this exit, there's no parking at that exit as things fill up. So if the DOT wanted to work with us on that, we could let them know, hey, we're full now, change your message or whatever, then we would certainly work with you on that kind of thing.
Okay, great.
Brad,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Brad, where's the coordination with Mass DOT stand? Where's the project at as far as their end?
They are reviewing. We had a conversation with them. Alan can weigh in. I think it was early last week. They asked for a little bit more information, specifically about the third driveway we were requesting and wanting to verify, is that really needed or how would it be used? And we were putting together the information that they requested to give to them. From a truck standpoint, there were no comments that I'm aware of. It was more a matter of, do we need that third driveway, and how do we use it if we have?
Were they aware of the clogging on 15 with the trucks parked there, or did they mention anything about that? Or
they didn't mention it, but it's been, time flies, but it's been several years ago. We reworked that truck driveway to make access easier, make the turning movements easier, and as I recall, they were aware of it at that point.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. Jeff, do you have any questions?
Yeah, hi. Hey, Gene, is this meeting going to be continued to wait for additional information?
Yes,
Ultimately?
definitely.
Yes.
That's my recommendation, yes.
And will we have an opportunity to ask questions once we have all information?
You will, but it would be very helpful to, if there's something that you're seeing right now that you would like to bring up as we're going through the review process, that would be very helpful. But obviously, at any continuation, you can ask additional questions, of course.
Right. Okay. No, I have nothing to ask right now. I just want to defer until I have all information and like to look at everything conceptually.
Okay.
Great. Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Payne?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. First of all, I love this project. that we're revitalizing it. It's obvious there's a big dead area in the middle of the site. Removing that old building, I think, really opens up this whole site to a lot of opportunity. And I'm excited to see some redevelopment in Sturbridge. So thank you to Pilot for bringing it to town. Big picture, my first two takeaways were the proximity to the brook and that this site is inside a Zone 2 watershed. Gene, do you know the actual name of this brook? I saw it listed as both Hatchet and Hominid.
Oh, I'm not sure. To be honest with you, Dane, I know it's, I think McKinstry goes off of there as well. I don't know, Alan?
Either way, it looks like it was contributory to some pretty significant drainage in the area, so it caught my interest. And I was curious what the status of the Concom is.
That was continued to next week, so the review that PAR is doing, he's doing on behalf of the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board. So we participated in a joint site visit, myself and the conservation agent, the chair of the Planning Board and the chair of the, or excuse me, vice chair of the Conservation Commission. They've opened the hearing, taken initial comment, and have been awaiting John Shevlin's review. I think that there's some really good opportunity for some improvements here in terms of stormwater management and, you know, wetland impacts as well. But I think we'll have to wait to see how that continuation goes next Tuesday. I don't know, John, do you have anything more to add with that? We've been having regular conference calls with myself and with Rebecca Gendro, our conservation agent, with John, so he's keeping us aware of everything that's going on.
Yeah, I would, just reiterate what you were just mentioning, and yeah, just ongoing coordination with the Concom and just trying to address any issues they may have. I know they had some, concerns with the fisheries and trying to make sure the water is not heated off the pavement.
Right.
I know the applicant's been trying to work in regards to going in and ensure that, and working within some of the limits that have been identified, just trying to identify those and make this, project that has the best possible water quality going into the system.
Hey guys, I would like
Have you ever had any history of releases at this site?
Are you talking about like petroleum releases?
Yeah.
Guys, there at a facility like ours, there are always going to be minor releases. I don't know of any major releases. A minor is when a guy overfills his tank. We have to report that as a release. We obviously have spill prevention and control measures in place to clean that up immediately. And again, because there is no secondary containment on the piping system, if there's a weep or a seep underneath the dispensers, it drips into the ground. So we are going to be cleaning all of that up. We're going to be mandated by Mass DEP that as we do this rework, we're going to have to clean up the soil. Meaning some of it will go, the bad stuff will go away, and new will be poured most likely. So, we're definitely cleaning up from that standpoint, and I know you guys all know this, but if we continue operating the facility as is, all of the concerns that you have from an environmental, from a conservation standpoint, are still perfectly valid. They're in place. But we don't have all of the measures that we're putting into place to make it better. So if this were a greenfield site, would we be doing things maybe a little bit differently? Sure, we would be required to, but because it's a redevelopment, we're doing everything we can to make it as good as possible. So certainly appreciate your consideration as we try to improve it, again, for the community, for the environment, and for our guests.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the improvement and modernization of the facilities. That's one of the reasons I said I was excited about it. I just want to make sure that during the installation construction process, that everything gets contained in the best way possible, that if there are any tanks on site, they get removed, remediated, and this seems like the best opportunity to address those concerns.
Yeah, the existing underground tanks, so the diesel is above ground. We have DEF, which is diesel exhaust fluid. It is a non-regulated substance. It's urea and water. that is an underground tank that we put in the last probably 5 years. It will stay in place. The existing gas tanks, which are original to the site, will come out and be replaced with new tanks, double wall fiberglass tanks.
Perfect. And I saw that you have the oil water separators. I saw that there were two details. One is cylindrical and the other is rectangular and concrete. I was looking at the drainage and grading in some detail. Can you just confirm that all of the inlets have oil water separation?
So I want to address the two different types of separators. So if you're looking at my screen, here's the diesel fueling area. So the line right where my cursor is one break point in grading, and the line on the other side of the canopy is a break point in grading. Everything outside of those two lines drains away from the fuel canopy, which means we don't allow any storm water that just rain, snow, melt, whatever, to come into our canopy area. Everything under that canopy drains to center island catch basins. So the only thing that way we're not getting our oil water separator flushed. It's not too much of a flow. It's anything that is spilled while they're fueling, if they have an oil leak, and it's obviously snow melt, water that drips off since the trucks are wet, what have you. So we capture all of that in catch basins that is piped to this cylindrical, as you call it, oil water separator. That is a standard separator that we put in every one of our facilities. It's a 4,000 gallon flow through. It's got I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, so I don't want to quote it wrong, but a very hefty flow rate that it can treat. So that separator serves the area you're most likely to have any spills. There are numerous other oil water separators throughout the site that are the concrete style, rectangular, that are just treating regular stormwater. Alan, I will defer to you to discuss anything further about, do all of them go through, all the catch basins go through a separator?
Yeah, there will be. Thanks, Brad. There will be. We've augmented the existing stormwater, oil water separators and provided additional oil water separators that will act as first flush or bypass. So one of Mr. Shevlin's comments was that we might need to add one other oil water separator at a pair of catch basins in the driveway between the hotel and Haynes Street. But that's largely in an area that isn't in contact with with any fueling pollutants and petroleum byproducts. But we'll look at that and address that. But anywhere where there is not an oil water separator already, we're augmenting that by positioning a new one.
And the existing ones, do we have information on their age, condition, suitability for reuse, waterproofness?
Yeah, we've not done an inspection, but yeah, they're original to the site, probably in the 80s, and we will certainly do that inspection, but and make any repairs that we need to.
Gene, do we have any conditionability authority to insist on the suitability of those or investigating that?
Yes, we can always, include that in our orders of conditions to investigate those. I think it would be prudent that they make the inspections while they're doing, or prior to doing all of the work, to make sure that anything gets repaired that needs to be repaired, and that can be added. The same with, generally in a project like this, there would be an on-site LSP while the work is going on, as far as the tank work as well. And reports are normally filed with the fire department as well as the planning department. So, yes, I guess long answer to a short question, yes, we can do that.
Very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so releases, old tanks are being removed. In the traffic, I have a question in table 1. The footnotes, so they're not really footnotes. 2s and 3s, I'm not sure if they're confused or if I am. It says, I know that this is granular and I'm diving into the traffic report unannounced, but in table 1, it refers to the east driveway and mentions ITE land use code 950 for the truck stop, which is, I think, supposed to be for the passenger vehicles. Whereas on the west driveway, it's the other way around. I'm not sure if that's grammatical, if the numbers are incorrect.
We will certainly look into that. The western driveway would be typically 950, and then the other two driveways would be for cars, so that would be the 960, and I think the other one's 934. So they are. That is probably a typo because the numbers are definitely borne out by what traffic we expect. So it's probably a typo.
Yeah, I don't have the ITE trip gen numbers at my fingertips, so I'm hoping it's a typo and that the numbers are right. But I was also curious about the change from 853 convenience to 960 super convenience, and if you could talk a little bit about what the rate differences would be if they were both the same, and are we actually comparing apples to oranges?
Well, I want to address it big picture, and then I'll let the traffic engineer. So our facilities are really, really hard to fit into ITE because even the 950, which is for truck stop, is based on, I think, one site in Florida, the counts from one site from Florida. That's why we provide actual numbers from our sales data so that we have good information. As far as the passenger vehicle area, it's going to be based on the size of the building, the size, the uses within the building, and obviously the number of gas fueling positions. So that's where you typically get into the super convenience, and I'll let, again, Jason jump in there. I believe it's more based on the counts at similar facilities, and that's why it works better. Whereas the old facility, it was a true little convenience store with a couple of gas dispensers out front for the gas area versus what we're doing now.
Hi, this is Jason. I'm with McMahon Associates, and yeah, you're exactly right with what you were saying there, Brad. Dane, the number of fueling positions at the site dictates the land use code within ITE. So going from the 8 fueling positions of the existing site up to the 12 fueling positions of the proposed site triggers a change in the land use code. ITE gives pretty explicit definitions such that certainly we could run with one land use code, but there is a break at 10 fueling positions. So with only 8 at the existing, that goes with the 853, and with 12 in the future, that goes to the 960, and that's pretty explicit within the ITE data. So that's how we put the numbers together. But as has been said, it's a bit of a difficult one to fully categorize and catalog.
Jason, this is John. Oh, sorry, Dane. The super convenience, also the fact that you're going to have, I think, Subway and Cinnabon or on Annie's or something. So it's going to generate probably more traffic using the super convenience than just convenience with a convenience store with gas pumps is like Cumberland Farms or something like that.
Correct. And yeah, that super convenience is based on the larger convenience area as well. And like you said, there can often be other uses within that land use, and that is part of the data set that ITE provides. So exactly right.
So am I right to assume that by going to super convenience, it's actually a more conservative model?
Correct.
Okay, I like that. Good job, guys. There was some existing info about vehicle per day traffic at the intersection of 15 and 84, and then we got projected trips and peak hours. Could you talk about how those two relate and why we don't think the peak hour is going to be impacted, though we don't have a baseline for it?
So the volumes on Haynes Street in front of the site are pretty low, and what we're trying to do is determine if there are any safety issues. Number one, I think John spoke to that earlier with the confirmation of site distances being appropriate, the lack of any crash history in the area. So we feel from a safety perspective that everything looks good. Then we turn our eye towards the operational perspective and the number of vehicle trips generated by the site. Well, we do expect they would increase a bit. We're not necessarily expecting to see, additional truck traffic. Of course, there could be more than there are today, but mostly this project is being designed to better serve those coming to the site. And then we would expect that there's going to be additional traffic as is shown in the table that you were referencing earlier. But the number of vehicle trips during those peak hours, and mind you, these are the highest numbers that we would expect throughout the day. So all the other hours associated with this site, we would expect to be lower for that east side, site drive side. And because of the low volumes on Haynes Street, we don't anticipate any impact. Essentially, these vehicles should have the ability to safely and efficiently move in and out of the site.
Excellent, which takes a nice segue to my questions on the layout. In general, in the small parking lot where thank you, that's perfect. The easternmost driveway enters into a large uncontrolled triangle. Would you consider painting more of that last parking row to control that a little bit better?
Here?
Yeah. I know you probably need no curbs in that area because you have truck movements, but I didn't see any fueling truck turn maneuvers. But there's obviously, I can't point, but one missing parking space that could be a striped triangle to help close off that. I hate those giant open triangular throats. They look like opportunities for fender benders.
Sure, we can take a look at that.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at it. It's essentially the same driveway that's there now. We're just really cleaning up the area and taking out the building. That area is essentially, again, same thing that's there, restriped. It should act. It should work very efficiently.
Yeah, I think keeping the same curb will definitely keep people comfortable with what they know. I just think if we put one more striped triangle as soon as you turn in and make that quick right hand and close off that throat a little bit more. But I was more thinking about that middle, the avenue kind of towards the hotel, how there's no stop control for the two convenience parking lot and that gas station out there as well, or that parking field.
That's easy enough to put a stop bars here, and here. That's easy enough. We'll drop
That'd be perfect.
No problem.
Yeah. And I noticed there are some big 3-foot beefy ballers around the propane tanks at the corners, but I was wondering about the spacing along the length, if it makes sense to put some more of those on the long side, at least on the side that's facing the traffic.
There will be protective railings there. You worry more about the corners because you don't want somebody to go around and hook it. But feel very confident that what we've got there will be more than enough protection.
There'll be a protective railing between the two corner pieces or on all three sides?
There's fencing around the whole thing because I don't want guests going in there. I want it to be prohibited for public access. So there will be enough to keep people out.
And it's a standard aluminum chain link fence?
Typically, that's what we would put, yes.
Is that similar to what's going on the top of the retaining wall at the edge of the parking field there?
Yes.
Do you have any consideration about guide rails along that row as well, where you have head-in parking going over a 10-foot wall?
If we need to put a guardrail, we can. I mean, there's certainly a curb there to help stop anything, but if we need to put a guardrail along the top of the wall, we can.
Do you think you need one?
I think the fence provides an adequate protection. It's a visual barrier. The curb is a physical barrier. Frankly, I like the fence better because I would have more concern about somebody trying to walk along the top of the wall and falling. So the fence, I think, does a better job than a guardrail of stopping that.
All right. We talked about the drainage a little bit. I'm not sure, did I not see the detail for the standard catch basins with the hoods?
I think it's in the plan set. It's just not in what I presented tonight.
All right, I definitely saw the special, what did you call it, the island inlet basin. I saw that detail, but I didn't see a detail for a standard catch basin. Oh, I only noted it because the stormwater report makes reference about the hoods and the gas traps, but I'm not sure that I saw the detail that showed it.
We'll double check, and if it's not there, we'll make sure it gets in.
Thank you. Similarly, details for the ponds, the outlet control structures, I'd be curious to see those.
Okay.
Yeah, there were a number of catch basins that were daisy chained. If there's any opportunity to connect those with manholes to prevent scouring of sediment, that's always preferred. I know you guys are looking again at another updated submittal, so if you see any of those that you can drop a manhole in there and get some of those to not just run flow through those and pick up all the sediment that's trapped in the sumps, that'd be great. Yeah, I'll leave it at that because I didn't see the detail on the other one. I'd also, on the fire chief had a memo that mentioned a minimum turn radius of 25 feet, but the corner underneath the pond that I'm looking at right there is 15 feet. I think that one needs to be widened to 25 foot.
Okay.
Were hydrant locations called out on this plan? Did I miss those?
Alan, they're not on this sheet. Do you have those called out on the plan?
Yeah, if they're existing, they're shown.
They're all existing to remain?
Yes.
And you talked about maybe a tanker during construction, which is good. And does this package include the directional signs, or will the future signage package include those?
Yes, this package includes the directional signs, and like I said, I stopped at the site before I went through all the building and sign stuff. So
I won't address those then. On the truck entrance, the western one, where you have that teardrop island, I assume the break in that is for fueling?
that is for the people who have finished fueling who want to park to turn and go back into the site. So this gap is so a guy who's fueled can turn and go back.
And the nearest island can make that 180 almost maneuver?
Yes.
Okay. Would you consider putting keep right directional signs at the face of those so that trucks entering the site for the first time don't accidentally drive headfirst towards the fueling stations?
Sure, we can do that. I mean, it's typically very self-regulating because they see all of the other trucks and the way they're going, but we can certainly add a couple.
Yeah, I'm sure if there was a truck full of or a bay full of headlights, they would get the idea, but a little signage never hurts. John, you saw something in the updated stormwater report that talked about the volume capacity of the ponds being adequate?
Yeah, the latest report that came in looking at the volumes appear that the sizing was done appropriately based on the runoff volumes.
Okay, good, thank you. There is a utility, a water service that runs towards the street. and then it says existing service to be reconnected. But does anybody know what that service is for?
I don't think it actually goes anywhere. It's going to be a field investigation, and if it does not, it will be terminated.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm not sure why it's there. When we bought the facility years ago, we did not get a lot of plans. The only thing that I'm aware of that has, it's the 3 buildings and the hotel, and then the wastewater treatment plant has obviously a line from the well. That's all I'm aware of on site. So that's just a mystery, and we'll investigate it and probably terminate it during construction.
Yeah, I would throw a downstream tap on it and see if any flow goes through it. But that's the end of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dane. Mike, do you have any questions?
Thank Dane for the all those questions. That was really great and helpful. As I looked at this site, I think it's a great revitalization and improvement of the area, and I like the fact that the traffic was certainly addressed, because that seems to be the reoccurring issue that we've heard over the past couple of years. So really appreciate that improvement. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sue?
Yes, as was already stated, you did a good job, Dana. Thank you for your the questions you put forward. Any work that is done at this site will be an improvement. But just I don't know, maybe Gene is aware, the specific parking areas for the trucks and the cars who choose to use the facility for longer than a quick run-in on the concrete area after filling where they pull up. How many parking spots are there for the trucks as well as for the cars? Do we have a number?
I believe the number for cars is, for trucks is 108, and for cars we're, Alan, correct me, is it 70, something like that?
That is correct.
Okay, and where is the parking located for the 108 trucks on this site?
It's this area and this area, and then the few that we've talked about already.
Uh-huh.
So it's at the far south end of the site, and all the car parking is at the north end of the site.
Okay. All right, I didn't realize that many trucks could fit in there, in that space. Everything else has been covered that I have questions for. So I thank you for this project, and I welcome you to Sturbridge.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great, thank you, Sue. Chris, do you have any questions?
I think everything's been answered. I thank you again, guys, for presenting this. It's a very smart design, and like everyone said, it's an upgrade, and certainly a very efficient design you guys have come up with. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Gene, do you have a time on the third that you'd like this to be continued to?
Yes, I would suggest that we continue it until Tuesday, June 23rd at 6:35 p.m. We do have other business, but it hasn't advertised yet, so I think it would be important to do this first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm sorry, did you say 6:35?
Yes, 6:35 on June 23rd.
Okay. Before we ask for a continuation, Gene, do you have anything else you'd like to add at this point?
No, I don't. It's just we'll continue to work with the applicant to go through the fine details that have come out this evening and some of the questions and comments, and work with John to continue his review, and hopefully be able to have a final report back to you in time for the 23rd. And we do need to check the public line, Charlie.
Charlie, they didn't go over the architecture yet.
Right.
Okay.
And I have other questions. I have another question.
Okay, go ahead, Sue.
It was mentioned that there'd be a chain link fence around the tanks. Is that correct?
There would be a chain link fence around the propane tanks, which are, here.
I'm trying to see where that sits on the property. Is that in the corner off the main property?
It's basically where the little gas building is now. It's right beside where the gas building is now.
Okay. I just didn't know if there might be a nicer way to fence that in to protect any of your clients.
Well, again, I mean, we can put rails.
Visually more. Pardon?
We can put rails and things like that around it, but the one thing that a chain link fence does is it typically keeps people out because they're not going to climb it. If you put a wrought iron fence, a kid might try to squeeze through, whereas a chain link is very unlikely they're going to do that. And we try to plan for all of those things.
Yes, I'm sure. And the idea of the guardrails, I don't think we have a definitive answer on that.
Well, again, my position would be that we've got a curb to stop vehicles. We have a fence that provides a visual barrier on the top of the retaining wall, and that should be more than sufficient. If we go to a guardrail instead of the fence, again, people are going to sit on the guardrail, they're going to climb on the guardrail, and I don't want them falling to the bottom of to that retaining wall and getting hurt. So I think the fence provides a better barrier in this case.
Sue, I apologize. I wasn't proposing or suggesting replacing the fence. I agree it's a good 10 foot tall or 8 foot tall. I thought maybe the addition of a guide rail might help.
Well, again, we can look at it, but we do need to be cognizant of space restraints. But let us look at it and come back with some reasoning one way or another, or change.
Yeah, I just needed clarification.
Okay,
and my question's been answered, and I thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Jane, you wanted...
Sorry, Charlie, I just had one comment, if I may.
Sure.
To Brad and Alan, isn't just look at the details, doesn't that wall extend up a foot over the finished grade? Just look at the retaining wall details.
Let me look at that again.
I'm looking at S1.1.
Sorry, I'm looking for it now.
Yep.
All right, I don't know what my screen's about to do. Sorry.
Just something to look at later on. I thought from the detail that the wall extended up above the finished grade.
Yeah, it does extend up. Probably, yeah, a foot. There's the one. So it does extend up 1 foot. So there you go. That's going to provide, in addition to the curb line, that's going to provide you some additional barrier to vehicles going over.
Very good, thank you. So, Gene, do we have any from the public that is interested in asking questions on this section of the site plan review?
We will find out.
Good evening. This is the planning board meeting, public hearing on the Pilot Travel Center. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the Pilot Travel Center? Anybody have any questions or comments on the Pilot Travel Center?
We have no one on the line, Charlie.
Okay, great. Brad, you want to then continue with the architectural, go over the architectural details?
Yes, sir. I'll quickly go through that. So here you see the proposed building. I do have a color rendering to show you, but it's a combination of EIFS, synthetic stone, Nichiha, synthetic wood panels. We've got a standing seam roof on it. So, it's definitely a more modern look than what is there now. but I hope everybody agrees that it is a much cleaner look. There's a color rendering so that you can see how the facility will look. It should be a very significant improvement over, especially the abandoned building that's frankly in a state of disrepair. You can see the fuel canopies. This rendering is not correct. The pilot here would not be on the canopy. We would only have one, or we're proposing to put one on the front face, and there would be no pilot on the rear canopy. I did not have the guy update the rendering, but because the main focus is what does the building look like. So you can see very neutral tones, a good, classy looking building. This is a canopy elevation for the auto canopy, and again, you can see only one pilot logo on there. The rest of it is the red and white and yellow stripe. Gives you an idea of what the canopy rendering, at least the front face, look like. The diesel canopy has no pilot logos on it, just the red, white, and yellow. One thing that we did that we have put on there, I know that there is a prohibition against internally illuminated, I'm going to go back to the site plan, internally illuminated signage. One thing that I would request, we're looking to put, or we're requesting to put an LED pricer for our DEF. It's the only price it has on it, so that when truck drivers come in, they can see that, yes, we do have DEF at all lanes. That's an important thing for them to know, and also what the posted price of that DEF is. So as you can see, let me go back to one of the, all right, this is a good, it would be on what we call the entrance side of the canopy, the side that the trucks enter. It would not be visible from the road at all. So we can't use a plastic-based pricer in that regard, because whenever the price changes, I can't have somebody going up on top of the canopy to change it. So we like to be able to do it remotely. So that is one request that we are going to make as far as the special permit, and see how that goes. Sorry, let me get back to where it was. And that gets us to the signage. Right now, I don't have a photo of the existing signs, but they're kind of small and spread out. We're looking to put in kind of a larger directory sign. We're at 18 feet tall, which I believe is what's allowed by code. From a square footage standpoint, we're requesting additional square footage over what's allowed in the code, but you can see we're going to have the pilot. We're going to post our fuel prices, and these would be the plastic ones that they reach up with a pole to change because they're not in a flow of traffic. Subway, Cinnabon, Annie Ann's, and then PJ Fresh is our internal food offering. Pizza, wings, pot roast. It's got a variety of things, many of which are currently sold on the diesel building. But that's what the sign that we're proposing. The wood-looking thing that you see here is actually Nichiha panels that match what you see behind the pilot sign, and then the stone that's at the bottom of the sign would match what's on the building, so it would tie in architecturally. I'm sorry, I don't have that in a color rendering, but it would tie in architecturally and provide a more cohesive sign and building package. But it would enable us to let our guests, let the motoring public know who we are, what we have to offer for their consumption. And these signs would be externally illuminated. Here, I'll go through these quickly. It's just kind of the detail. This is another sign that would be on the rear of the building, not viewable from the roadway, from adjacent properties, but it's over the entrance to the building that the truck drivers use, and it's a welcome. It's kind of a friendly thing that we do at all of our facilities. So I would be seeking a special permit to allow that. Again, these are just the details of the signs that would be on the building. This is the DEF pricer that we would request to have on the diesel canopy. So you can see it's a small LED. It shows that it's the DEF price and that we have DEF at all planes. Going to, I believe Dane's question about the directional signs. So at the car entrances, the entrances designed for passenger vehicles. This is what you would see. One at each entrance, auto entry exit, pretty straightforward. And then for the truck driveway, you're looking at the same thing. These are compliant with the ordinance, if I'm not mistaken. Certainly would like to have bigger ones if at all possible. Just especially for the trucks to make sure they know exactly which entrance to go to. But these are compliant, and that's what we've requested permission to install. And I believe that is the end of my presentation.
Great, thank you. Jane, do you have any comments on the request or some of those special permit requests that he just mentioned?
Yes, so we'll be working with Brad as we go forward to refine his sign package. Almost all of the signage on site is compliant, so the monument sign, one of the pilot signs on the building, and the DEF will all be special permit requests that will come before this board. Probably later in the summer. There's plenty of time for them to do that, as the construction will take some time, but probably, July or August maybe we'll be working on that.
Okay, great. Russ, do you have any questions or comments on this part of the presentation?
No, I just think the building looks great, and can't wait to see it to fruition. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Jeff?
No questions. Good work. Looks good.
Great. Dane?
No.
Dane?
Thank you.
No? Great. Okay, Mike?
It's just Charlie.
Sue?
Quick question, the welcome drivers, are you looking to have that illuminated?
Typically it is externally illuminated, so we could put a little row of lights on. There's a canopy over that building, so that when people are coming in and out, they have a chance to get out of the rain for a second before they open the door. So at the edge of that canopy, I can put a row of lights that just shine up onto it. So it would be external.
Great.
That's great.
Chris?
No questions.
Okay, good. Jane, do you want to check if there's anyone of the public that would like to make any comments at this part of the presentation?
Okay.
Would any member of the public like to make a comment on the architectural renderings of the Pilot Travel Center? Is there any public comment on the architectural renderings of the Pilot Travel Center?
No, we're all set, Charlie. No one's on the line.
All right, great. I think we're probably ready then, I think, to make a motion to continue the public hearing until 6:35 on June 23rd. Would someone like to make a motion?
So moved, Russell.
Second.
Second.
Sue?
Thank you. Russ, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Great, and I vote yes. Very good. Thank you very much. It was very informative and good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we
We'll talk to you
going
in a
to
couple
hear
weeks.
about
Thanks,
the
everyone.
inside of the building?
Sorry, what?
Will we be hearing about the inside of the building this evening?
No, there are floor plans in the plan renderings, but we normally wouldn't go into too much detail on site plan. But if you have any questions, absolutely get those to us, and we'll make sure they're answered for you for the next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Very
You
good.
too.
Thank you, folks. Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
John, thank you.
Welcome. Good night, guys.
Okay, Sue, could you read the notice for the public hearing on the zoning map petition by
Sure. Sure, I will. for the proposed zoning map. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Sturbridge Planning Board will hold a public hearing in Town Hall and Veterans Memorial Hall, located at 308 Main Street, on Tuesday, June 9, 2020, at 7:05 p.m. to consider the amendments to the town's zoning map as petitioned by Porchlight Investments 3 for property located at 7 Cedar Street. The petitioners have requested that a portion of 7 Cedar Street, as shown on the plan submitted, be changed from suburban residential to commercial tourist district. The proposed change will affect 0.917 acres plus or minus of land, the westerly side of Cedar Street and the northeasterly side of 420 Main Street. The planning board may elect, consistent with Governor Baker's May 12, 2020, order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law to hold public hearings virtually, in which case details representing the same will be made public by the planning board in advance of the hearing and will be posted on www.sturbridge.gov/town administrator /ages/how to access virtual meetings. For those unable to participate virtually, written comments will be accepted in advance of the public hearing. The proposed zoning map amendment and petition may be reviewed at the same at sturbridge.gov, planning board, web forms, proposed zoning bylaws amendment, or arrangements can be made to view the proposed amendments by contacting the Sturbridge Planning Department at 508-347-2508 or by email at jlacy@sturbridge.gov.
Thank you very much. Jean, do you have anything you'd like to say before the petitioner?
Yes, actually, the petitioner has a small presentation. I'll have Janae share her screen and show you that. But just as way of brief overview, the board, or at least some of you were on the board last year, I believe, when this petition came before the town. And it was for a much larger tract of land to be changed to commercial. And it did not pass at town meeting, however, the planning board did support it. So since the planning board supported it, it could come back at any time. Additionally, this petition has been drastically reduced, which also gives it the ability to come back before the board. So I continue to support this request, as I believe it's very consistent with the recommendations of the master plan, the Commercial Tourist District Revitalization Study. I really do believe the health and vitality of the overall district is dependent upon the provision of adequate off-street parking. As the results of our studies have indicated, parking is really at a premium in this district, and I do believe this is a reasonable proposal that can alleviate the abutters' concerns while still providing a decent increase in parking capacity for Porchlight Investments. And with that, I will have Janae share her screen and provide the presentation for the applicant.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And Brad will be here to review the slides as Janae, and Dan Gagne is here as well. Did I share with you? Here we go.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. I guess I'd like to thank everybody for the planning board for considering our change of zoning for this property. For newer property, or for newer planning board members, we purchased this piece of property in 2014, and we have been in a board progress or development mode, bringing it back from very near dormant stage and adding a great deal of new business and activity to the area. And the barn, Cedar Street Grill, who shares the parking lot, and Cedar Street Cafe are a couple of our brands and examples of, what we've been able to accomplish in some business that we've been able to return to this area. Excuse me for my voice. I had shoulder surgery this morning and haven't fully recovered from the process. So if we could advance to the next slide. This is just showing us 420 Main properties. Really what we hope to do is to rezone for additional parking to continue to facilitate the economic expansion that we started back in 2014. And going through the process last year led us to the objective of really increasing our parking capacity, which was not our sole one, but I would say that it has a greater focus on protecting open spaces for residents in this plan. So we can move on to the next slide. This is really just kind of an aerial view of the property. And I don't know if I have a pointer here, or I think I do. This area right here is currently the area that is commercial tourist. And this heavily wooded area up here is suburban residential. And it's a fairly landlocked parcel. So if we could move to the next slide. I just kind of graphically represented with some overlays. I mean, those are not architectural drawings. Those are not existing, but you can see the general breakout of the land is 3.27 acres for commercial tourists and, about 3.07 acres for suburban residential. So if we could move on to the next one. This is a little bit more clearer, definitive look of the exact lots and boundary lines and meets and bounds as the property stands today, with, again, parcel B being the heavily wooded area here and showing the buildings that are located and available parking space and some green space here and in this area. So if we could move on to the next slide. Thank you, Janae. Not only do we have our properties and our brands and businesses that are using the site, which we included Cedar Street Grill, but we're using the Vetcor, the Sturbridge Vet. We have an agreement with them because without our lot, they wouldn't really have viable parking. Table 3 has sales offices. There's also retail offices in Building 1. In addition to our businesses, we've added the Alpheus White Room, which is in front of this building, and we'll see this represented more clearly in another slide. This is just to show the drain that we have on this parking area, because I think when you look at the parking area, sometimes your general thought might be, wow, that's a really big parking area, why would you need more? We have Excel Advertising, which is a tenant that takes the majority of building number 2. We have the Barnett White Farm, which has a capacity of 175. We've added the Cedar Street Cafe on the first floor of building number 1. And we have another tenant by the name of NSS in building number 4 upstairs that we've renovated their building and that entire building for them. So if we could look at the next slide. We'll see that the parking lot, and I'm sorry that the size of these things, I hope you can see it okay. The buildings are represented by what we call them as building 1, 2, 3, and 4. The total spaces are available in this parking lot are 103 plus 5 ADA, which is 108. When we look at our daytime parking after our tenant reserve, what we have either leased to other tenants that are dependent upon our parking, and us leasing that space to them to do business, and in factoring in the ADA, we have about 61 spaces. So when we look at kind of what our current focus businesses are right now, the Barnett White Farm and the Alpheus White Room that have, 175 and 85 capacity. And we've run into this a couple times already where we've had, say, a large memorial meal in the daytime and a Christmas party. We really don't have the capacity to put all the parking that we need during the daytime into our existing businesses, and we've come up short, and we've had to shuttle bus and that type of thing now. So if we're tight during the day, we're certainly going to limit any future expansion that we could do. Our evening parking, we get a little bit better because after 6, and Gene, I know these are different numbers than you've seen on the 10, because on the 10, I excluded the people that aren't going to be there during, for our tent application,
Right.
because of the current situation we're in. But this is real world post-COVID, and I'm going to say after, pre-COVID as well. So, our evening parking, we got some more flexibility with, but even with Cedar Street, as busy it is and cranking, and if we wanted to have a couple of full functions in these businesses, unfortunately, people don't always follow the rule of, 3 persons in a car when they come to events. So we are existing a little bit tight as we speak. So if we go to the next slide, we've got some plans for future expansion. If we can find a way to cure some of our parking woes, we plan to relocate XL Advertising from Building 2, where they currently reside, and into Building 1, which currently has some antique and other retail businesses. We plan to do a full-scale, as we've done on the cafe and the other buildings on this site, a full renovation on this building, on the interior and exterior of the building. I think the design board will be happy to know that we're going to change the look of the building at all, so it'll still have a very colonial look to it and fit right in with that colonial village kind of facade and feel that we have on the property. We are then planning on moving into that building for Table 3 for additional wedding and ceremony functions, which we would then control that entire building and have a potential capacity of around 210 people. So that would certainly be a challenge, adding another 125 people for parking. So, and potentially even looking at an engineering study right now where we've just gone through a significant upgrade in the kitchen in the barn building to connect the 2 structures via an underground tunnel to be able to move services and food and so forth in between the 2 buildings as we service this new space as a wedding function and ceremony space. We could have already been selling this space many times over, as our barn capacity is pretty much sold out, and it's definitely sold out during the peak months of the year. If we could move to the next slide. So basically, if we look at the plans for future expansion investment, we now know that we need new parking and where we're going to do it. So we do have a couple of options, and the options under consideration have been somewhat since the beginning. There's a beautiful field in the front of our property, and we utilize that for people who come to the cafe and recreate. We sometimes use it for, outdoor space for a function business, and I believe it really provides a really nice, green space for the property and really nice green space along Route 20. So instead of utilizing that space or trying to utilize that space, we really thought that, if we could rezone the parcel B with a suburban residential, it might make more sense for the site. And I think on our first trial, we weren't planning on taking the entire parcel for parking, but our parking design more straight into the residential land, and we went for, a total zoning change on that parcel. And in this, we're only seeking a small portion, like you said, probably just about a third of the property, maybe just slightly under, and leaving a good 2/3 of the property for green space, and also leaving it as residential zoning. And I think there were quite a few residents that were concerned that, if we took the whole parcel and converted it to commercial tourist, then that would open up much other possibilities there other than a parking lot. And I think there was some mistrust of what we were looking to do with the property, which, quite frankly, this particular scenario probably affords them the best protection, because if we put this property here and change the zoning on it and put parking there, there really almost completely eliminates our ability to get into the rest of that zoning space, into that suburban residential. I would say, and I don't want anybody to read like a veiled threat or anything like that, and this is just the property owners have owned this property now for 6 years. Their intention is to try to do something with their investment, and they did not buy it to use it strictly as green space or conservation land. So I think if we ended up having to switch our focus and move our parking down here, I think at some point we would look at developing this space into residential property. And in using this particular scenario for parking, it pretty much eliminates that, or certainly makes it a lot more difficult for us. We'd have to buy an adjacent property or something to get in there to do that. And I don't really think that that would be the intention of the owners. And then the third or fourth kind of thing that we're looking at is a shuttle bus with hotel pickup and drop-offs, and also a cooperative agreement with 419, that's across the street at the Olga's property. And she's been very cooperative with us. And I think, quite frankly, this shrinks down our request for about 73 spaces. And we may, quite frankly, have to do both, running a shuttle bus and use the parking. So next slide, I'm sorry. And this is just a snippet, if you will, from the design study that was done by McClure Engineering of rezoning the space, showing how we have the existing parking lot and we would come just behind what is now the Beeman home, who do support this. We've had discussion with them. And again, the 2019 proposal was to convert all of it, and we're looking at just a third of it, 73 spaces. It would make a big difference for our business and the other businesses that are in there. And again, it would go a long way towards providing a majority of the land to continue keeping it as green space. Next slide. So I think this is just a summary, and I think you guys have probably heard the majority of this through the presentation, but will allow us to continue to invest in our commercial tourist businesses. We have some good plans that I think will be very viable for us in the town, and provide the parking space needed for that, and give our residents and neighbors the continued assurance of space, green space abutting their properties. If we are awarded this zoning change, I really think that this will strike a really good benefit, as Gene mentioned earlier, for both us and certainly for the residents. So that is it. Unless anybody has any questions.
Dan, thank you very, very much. That was very good. Russ, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Dan, to the west side of the parking lot, where it butts the existing parking lot, is that going to be an entrance and exit also?
Let me go back in. If you could go back to where we were showing the parking lot tonight. So where exactly are you looking at, Tom? The only entrance to the parking lot would be, we need the slide.
Oh, the other slide, Janae.
Showing the.
Oh.
Yeah, you just had it. One
right
back.
There.
Here you go. Right. So the only entrance to this is where we're giving up spaces right here in the existing lot.
Right.
So you won't be able to enter it from the road. That's actually, again, this is a design study. We asked them to take it as far as they could. He put a small retention pond in there. I said, I really don't want to have retention ponds for the way they look, especially for, the neighbors. I want to go with underground, drainage requirements, but he has one just located as a possibility example. But you would still enter the parking lot the same way. You'd enter in here, and then there would be exit up here.
Okay, so I'm talking, all right, so you answered my question. It just looks like at the far end, not that I'm against it, but I just think it would be, is there any way to put another entrance and exit at the far end to the west end, like to the left of where those 4 parking spaces are?
Are we looking here, Tom?
I can't, it's Russell, by the way, Dan.
I'm sorry, Russell. Apologize.
It's okay.
I usually don't give presentations while I'm under the influence of codeine and painkillers. So doing the best I can here, my friend. So you're talking about coming in off of Cedar Street, another entrance, or up at the other end?
No, to the west.
The west.
The opposite end.
Well, yes, you can enter the parking lot up at this end. There is a provision for coming in both sides. So
I just wanted to make sure there was. I just think it would be a great idea to be able to enter or exit, on both ends of the parking area. And
yes.
you did answer my question on the other end, right behind Beeman's house. That's the retention. So I had a question on that. So thank you. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Russ. Jeff?
Yeah, I just have one question. I mean, this is a private parking lot, so how would anybody know when they can park in there versus when they cannot? I mean, obviously, if they're a patron, I mean, it's almost like a campus of businesses that you're running there. So is there a sign at the parking lot that denotes what businesses can, or what patrons of what businesses can actually use that parking lot?
It's not at the parking lot. It's denoted by ground signs. Like here, we have signs with arrows that note that that's parking for NSF. And up at this end, we've had parking signs that note that this is parking for VetCor. And down on this end, where XL Advertising is, we have signs that denote that those areas are parking, and it also has the hours in which they're allowed to park there.
Okay, and will you obviously continue that trend for the 73 additional spots?
Of course.
Okay.
And the only time I could really see the additional 73 spots being used is, I would say there would be utilization on a Friday night and on a Saturday night, and probably higher utilization of all those spaces on Saturday night versus Friday. And it really depends on whether we had, 1 or 2 weddings going at the time.
Right.
But I think during the week, it's going to be pretty freed up.
I have no further questions.
Great, thank you. Dane?
Hi. First of all, huge fan, Table 3. Go there all the time, constantly, maybe too much. So thank you for what you're doing for our community. Big fan of the jobs, and the constant improvements that you guys bring to a highly visible area is greatly appreciated. Baseline, I'm in favor of this modified proposal. I think the last proposal for a blanket rezone of the large area like that in this area is, I understood where the community was coming from. I think this is a bit more restricted and acceptable. I was wondering, in the layout, I understand is preliminary, but as a site layout guy by trade, I hate seeing the parking aisle all the way on the north with no additional head-in parking spaces. And I know you're doing that steep grading there. There's no reason that couldn't be done a little bit further to the north, past the proposed zone line, with the parking spaces. You could pick up like another 40 parking spaces further to the north, still within the limits of the zone area that you've laid out. Gene, I don't know if grading could be done inside that suburban residential zone.
So really all the, all the work really would have to occur within the commercial district. I mean, there could be, slope easements and things, but, I mean, obviously, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves with the parking lot design as well. But, we could certainly look at that possibility. I completely understand what you're saying to maximize, all of the space possible if the rezoning does occur.
And to that end, I definitely am jumping into the weeds on the 18 extra feet to the zone line, and I'm down there. But it was to the point of the zone proposed is outside of the grading, and I wasn't clear why the zone proposed couldn't be tight to the limit of impervious with the grading being done over the zone line. But it seems like you're saying that that's not allowed.
That's correct.
Well, I think there's two things for us. I think one is we want to, punch the smallest footprint that we need. And then the second thing is because I won't be able to step over that line in landscape, I really do want to provide a lot of nice trees and landscaping and to make this parking lot not only look good for us, because right now it's just, a cut to older wooded area. I'd really like to do some nice landscaping to blend it in, to make it look like it's thoughtful on our part, but also, for seasons that the deciduous leaves come down, that our suburban, neighbors have the ability to look at something that's really nice as well. So we plan on, we'll put a really good landscape package together. We'll plan on using dark lighting. We'll probably control that lighting on that parking lot, again, in low use evenings and those type of things. We'll have that parking lot be separate to the other lot and have the lighting go off and just control it when we need it as the overflow space. So, Table Tree's been a really good neighbor, and the town has also been an excellent partner to us. This is very, very important to our future business and growth, and we're really willing to make whatever concessions, within reason, to make people happy on this lot in this design. So, and I think it's also beyond that, using dark sky lighting and landscaping, all this. It just makes us a good neighbor, a good partner. It makes good design sense.
Agreed. And to that point, you mentioned screening to the neighbors. I know we started talking about it from the limit to the north, so that would benefit the people parking there, not just looking at a exposed dirt slope. But for the abutters to the east and the west, you mentioned the abutter to the east is in support. Do you have a letter or anything that you could submit to show their support of this? They would definitely be the most impacted on the downhill side, and I would hope that there'd be some heavy screening or a good fence or something for them. The other people to the west, obviously, the hill is going to screen most of that for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, again, we're kind of at a preliminary stage, kind of looking at, is this possible and can we get this approved? And, I think that we're willing to, do what's within reason, whether it's fencing or landscaping or that type of stuff, to make this a comfortable proposition for, our suburban neighbors as well.
Yep. And you mentioned a total of, I think, 103 parking spaces with 5 accessible spaces. Are there already 5 accessible spaces on site, or would you need to create more?
Well, the original design as we stand today has 103 with 5. So I very much see that as we increase our capacity in these buildings for additional functions, that we would have to add some additional ADA spaces.
Do you feel confident that the grades and the topography near the entrances can accommodate more within those restricted slopes?
I think what we would do is we would just add them where next to the existing spaces that are already there, so that's not an issue. That instead of having 2, we'd have 4, something of that nature on each side.
All right. Well, I wish you luck with this. I'm all set with questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dane. Mike?
Yep, I would say this is a great property, a great asset to the town. I know your business has been a great community partner of ours. I like seeing the ideas of the expansion. I think those are great. And I know we already approved this as a planning board to move it forward to town vote last time, and I think the changes are great, and I support this. So no questions.
Great. Thank you very much. Sue?
I have no questions, and I thank you for your addition to our town.
Great. Chris?
Nope, I have no questions either. I think this looks great, Dan.
Great.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much, Dan. Gene, do you have the wording for the motion to send this to the town meeting?
Yes, first of all,
Charlie, will this be on this town meeting?
What? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. We do need to have.
Will this
any
be on this
comments
town
the-
meeting, Gene?
yes,
It's on the warrant.
it is on the warrant, but we need to check the public line to see if there's anyone on the line.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hello, is there anyone on the public line for comments on the rezoning for 7 Cedar Street? Hello, is there anyone on the public line for comments related to the rezoning for 7 Cedar Street?
We have no one on the line, Charlie. So the appropriate motion, provided the board would like to support this request, the appropriate motion would be to move to support the proposed zoning map change requested for the property located at 7 Cedar Street from suburban residential to commercial tourist district as requested in the petition, and to provide the recommendation to the town administrator and board of selectmen for inclusion on the town meeting warrant.
Very good. Can I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Sue, thank you. Second?
Uh-huh.
A second. Chris?
Very good. Russ, how do you vote?
Yes, yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Dane?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Very good. Thank you very much. Dan, thank you very much. Brad, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Backup guy tonight, so I thank him for joining us. So
Good luck with your shoulder.
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Speedy recovery, Dan.
Get some rest.
Have a speedy recovery.
Thank you so much, guys, and thanks for all your support. And I'll just echo on a comment that Sue, made at the end. She said that, we're a great asset, but I think we've been a great partnership, Cable 3 with the town of Sturbridge right from the beginning. And I feel that, and I again just thank you again for your support, and we'll see where this goes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the town planner update, Gene.
Yep, just a few things. As you know, I provided you an update that we're working on outdoor dining operations. We're entering into the next phase of reopening, so our restaurants are able to start serving food outdoors now. We've been working with them to approve tents and outdoor patios and things of that nature consistent with the executive order. There are a couple, I'll send you the full report that I sent to the Board of Selectmen this evening. I'll send it to you tomorrow. You'll note that Sawdust Cafe and the Thai Place, both of them had proposed outdoor patios. We are actually approving the use of those with the condition that it cannot become permanent without a vote of the planning board, and they'd have to remove some seating inside. But at least,
So,
Lost you, Gene.
pardon? You
Gene, we
can't
can't
hear
hear.
me?
Hear anyone?
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you, Charlie.
I can hear you,
Okay.
Charlie.
Can you hear me?
Can't hear.
Can't hear me.
Can't hear you, Gene.
Hold on.
Can hear you.
I think they're trying to fix it. Jeff looks interested there in trying to fix it.
Can you hear me
Hold the
now?
microphone closer. Hold the mic closer.
This?
Can you hear us now?
God, it's not me.
I know.
Can you hear us?
Oh, I'm muted.
I didn't hold it up.
No,
No?
you're supposed to be. You're talking
Oh,
out
yeah.
of this one. Can you hear us
Correct
now?
time.
Can you
Three.
hear?
Can you hear me? Ay, ay, ay.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Hold on.
I think you went off on the phone. Oh, no, it's still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear this?
Yeah, no, I can hear everybody.
Can you hear this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did you hear that, Charlie? No? All right, hang on. I'm going to try something.
And
Everybody, hold on.
The governor's plan for this outside dining initially actually makes it so that zoning laws don't really apply. And so Gene has been looking at this from the standpoint that since it's only 25% of the capacity, all the existing site plans would have plenty of parking. So what she's been doing is working with Jeff and the building inspector and going through and looking at the locations to make sure that they don't have any serious issues or any issues at all, in fact. And the governor's big guidelines on this, as far as on the liquor service, is that they have to have managers be able to look at it, the service of the alcohol, and also that it be roped off. And that's about the only limit there is to that. So she has that report, and she has a request here for the planning board to authorize the town planner to sign those approved
Charlie, hold on.
minutes for posting.
Excuse me, Charlie. She held up a sign to hold on. They're going to pause the meeting.
Oh, all right.
All right, no one, we're
She didn't
gonna,
write it big enough for me to see.
I know. It was weird.
Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash.
make sure you're the organizer.
To enable audio controls, please enter your audio. This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, are we back?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
You are?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. All right, great, thank you. So, so Charlie got through most of my update, and I think the last one that he was on is, oh, I just want to say too, I sent you out an information on a proposed 1.4 million square foot warehouse just over the Charlton-Sturbridge line. The comments were due to MIPA by today. They actually gave an extension until next Tuesday, which actually worked out very well because I've been doing nothing but restaurant work this week. So I have comments nearly prepared. I will send out a copy of those to the board as well. And then just in light of the continued virtual operations, I'd like the board to authorize me to sign the minutes for posting and planning board decisions with the exception of A&Rs, which would still need to be signed by the board. And that's all I have.
Okay. Well, that's great. Can we have a motion then to authorize Gene to sign the minutes for posting and also for the sign? Well,
So moved, Russ.
Second, Sue.
Second, Sue. Russ, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Very good, thank you. Any old business? Does anyone have any old business? I'll go through, I guess, Russ, do you have any old business?
Old business.
Old? Yep.
Nothing.
Jane?
No.
Oh, great. Mike?
None, thank you.
Hey, Sue?
None.
All right. Chris?
None for me, and I'll save you on the way back. No new business either.
All right, I'll go that way then. Sue, what about you? All right. Mike?
None.
Okay, new business? I'll take, no. Yeah.
Just one quick question, Gene. Is there any indication when we can actually get back in there to go to these meetings?
We're imagining for the foreseeable future we'll be meeting this way. Our buildings still aren't even open to the public yet, and under the executive order, we can only be at 25% capacity even with staff. So we are opening for appointments to the public for 3 days a week, starting next week. I believe it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 to 2, and we have to have gatekeepers at the doors and things like that to comply with social distancing guidelines. So absent any new directive, I think we'll be doing this for a while.
Okay. That's it.
Just a quick thing, Gene, I see the mobile station on Route 15, they're advertising for help.
Yes.
Opening soon, have you?
Yes, so I signed off on the temporary occupancy permit. I gave them 90 days to complete their outside site work. They are in the process of moving the old store into the new store and will be up and running very soon. It's actually coming out quite nice. I encourage all of you to take a ride out there and take a look at it. They've really done a nice job.
So they get the drainage situation all squared away?
Yes, finally, yes. Yeah, finally. It's been a long time, but they did a really nice job.
Very good, thank you. I have no new business. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Sue?
Thank you.
Second, Russell?
Russell, great. Russ, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Rip?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you all. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.